huge excitement for October 4. Why? Well, London Marathon, after being postponed again, and then even potentially cancelled, will take place. Elite only, with a virtual event of 45,000 people. Nevertheless, it will take place. And in a year where virtually no events have taken place, unless of course in the virtual sphere, this is big news. What's even bigger news is the massive clash between Richard Koskay, the world record holder, Ruth Chepngetich, the world champion, and South Africa's very own Gerda Steyn.
Gerda's statistics are nothing but phenomenal. A 2:27.48, the fastest woman's only ever marathon by a South African, that in New York in 2019. A 32:25 for 10 kilometers in Dubai earlier this year in January before everything was shut down. Less than a month later, 70:55 for the half marathon. But one of those figures that really caught the eye is a 15:45 for 5 kilometers on the road. Only 3 other women have ever gone faster than that.
And when she got the news that she would be competing on the 4th of October, well, of course, she was massively excited, and we simply had to take the chance to catch up with her.
I think it was just like gratefulness and relief. I was trying for marathons since lockdown started. I was trying to get into some marathons, and I did get a few sort of options in the end, but none of them was promising, because all the organizers were like, sure, we will take you, we will be delighted, but we don't know if we will be able to host our race. And those ones that I was planning on doing has been cancelled now. So I'm very, very grateful. So my London invitation was very last minute. I only got the sort of the final, I signed my final agreement with them 2 days before they announced the field.
Sure.
So it was very last minute, but it wasn't last minute as in there was no more time to train. That was still almost 2 months before the 4th of October. So it was plenty of time for me to train. I think it was just very short time to be excited. And luckily for me, a short time to keep the secret, only 2 days. So it was, I'm very, very grateful to be, to have the opportunity. It feels to me like it's this one chance that I have for 2020 to still perform. As we all know, everything has been cancelled. My 2 big races, which is Comrades and Ocean.
Coming into the stadium, and just look how popular she is. The crowd absolutely adores this champion, and how can you not? Taking ultra running in the women's field to another level. We're about to witness an era in ultra running that is second to none in South Africa.
Every year has been cancelled, and it left most athletes this year without anything to aim for. So for me, London is this one chance that I have, this window opportunity for 2020 to still make it count.
The last time I saw you, we were in the mountains in Lesotho, and we were talking about Two Oceans, and we were talking about the Olympics, and we were going, okay, we know COVID is around, but there were still tentative plans in place, and this year is completely and utterly changed.
Absolutely, yes, Manfred. The last time we were chatting, we were still peak training for Two Oceans, and it was only maybe a week after that it got cancelled, and then it was like dominoes with all the races, not only in South Africa but around the whole world. So the Olympic plan has obviously now been postponed till next year. I'm glad that they've decided to postpone it. We all know that it might be looking very different to what we are used to, what the Olympic Games used to look like in the past. But still, it is going ahead. Japan seems to be very keen to still host the Olympic Games, regardless of the current global pandemic.
When events started getting cancelled, was there an element of like a panic arising? What now? Because every athlete has to plan their season, has to plan their year, and all of a sudden it's gone. You actually can't plan.
Yes, that was the hardest part for me, I think, through this whole thing, is just the fact that I don't know what is going to happen in the future. There's no sort of timeline or target to work towards. For me, it was no problem to stay fit. I love training. It's for me, I will train even if I'm one day when I'm not racing competitively. I love training. I love pushing myself day to day. So just staying fit wasn't for me the biggest problem. It was just not knowing when I should start to focus on what type of training, and that was the biggest struggle for me personally. So once again, when I got the green light to run London, it was just such a relief, and it's just so much easier to just have something to target on. Oh, and also I managed to do a 5-kilometer race a few weeks ago. It was about a month ago that I raced a 5-kilometer race. And even that, it was just something in your mind to focus on and to target, rather than just day in, day out, sort of feeling like you're just floating. So since then, when I raced the 5-kilometer race, it was just in the time when I heard I will be doing the London Marathon. So it was just perfect for me. All of a sudden, it sort of felt like the pieces were coming together again, and the puzzle pieces were starting to look like a picture.
Well, let's talk about that 5K and London, because you ran a 15:44. And it's to the best of my knowledge, only Alana May has actually gone faster. No, Alana May, Colleen de Reuck, and Dominic Scott have gone faster.
And Don Scott.
And you ran a 15:44, and now you get the notification you're going to London. That must have gotten you extremely excited.
Yes, that got me so excited. I was planning to do another marathon. If London didn't work out for me, I had another marathon on the back burner, which is a marathon in Wrexham that the same organizers were doing, that organized that 5-kilometer race. And they are very sort of on top of things, and they are doing their best to still maintain social distancing with racing and doing that in the right protocols and everything. So I was kind of hopeful for that. So in the back of my mind, I was kind of thinking about this 5-kilometer race as a stepping stone and as a mark in the sand to see where I will be and what I will be able to do for the marathon. But then again, it turned out I got the big ticket to London. So it just turned out well. And with the 5-kilometer race, I was training hard at the time already, doing marathon training. And in the week leading up to the 5-kilometer race, I did my best to sharpen up and to make sure I get into the right mental space, and just to be able to put everything out there and see what I can do. And I was very, very pleased with the results, taking in consideration as well that I was still training and I didn't allow myself a huge taper or a huge preparation towards that specific race. I was very, very happy with the results. And I think I just have that one sort of one race, one result to go on if I want to compare myself or to try and figure out where my fitness was at the time. So luckily it went all well, and it just was a good start to round off my marathon training.
So let's talk London. It's unique. This has never happened before. It's part of the route when Ineos was looking at the sub-2, they investigated that route. So it's already been looked at. It's already been investigated. It is obviously geared to a fast time. But if you look at the map, there's quite a few sharp twists and turns. Have you had a chance to look at the map? Because it's 19 laps of 2.2 kilometers.
That's right. Yes, I have the habit of studying the course before I do a race. I'm quite into detail, so I like doing that. I don't like sort of showing up thinking I'll take it as it goes. So with London Marathon, it's quite different. Studying the map is not going to get you far because it's just one lap, but you have to remember that it's almost 20 times around that one loop. The corners itself doesn't bother me too much. I feel like there's not a lot of sharp corners. There are corners, but it's not sharp and it's always to the right. So you just keep running into the clockwise direction. And in my opinion, it should be fast. Like you say, they did consider this route for the Ineos race. So in that, if you just take that into consideration alone, it should mean that it is set up to be a fast route. I think the mental side of it might be the only or the biggest struggle. It's tough to run in loops. We all know that. It's very tough to go past the finish line, let alone 20 times past the finish line before you actually finish. So that, and the fact that there won't be crowds. Crowds for me is always a big mental boost. Hearing your name being shouted by so many thousands of supporters along the route is a big confidence booster, or not a confidence booster. It's just sort of you get like happy hormones flowing over your brain. So I think that will be a great mess. But again, I don't say no. I'm not this ungrateful for this opportunity. We all have to adapt in these times. And also with the current situation, I did do a lot of training on my own. Duncan, obviously, we were together the entire time, so he was able to support me. But I never had a big group to run with, or without that, and I only had the opportunity to do one race, and where there were also not many crowds. So I think it's just keeping it in mind that those things that we are maybe used to aren't there this year. But other than that, the course itself is flat. So we're now keeping our eyes on the weather to hope for a cool and low wind day in London.
Let's chat a little bit more about the preparations. Obviously, it's loops. Have you followed that process of training and preparing? Elroy Galant has found a 2-kilometer loop in Potch, and that's what he's been training on. Have you done something similar?
I have, yes. I've been doing quite a lot of my training in loops. It helps a lot. It helps mentally. I've also found a loop that's 2.3 kilometers, and I've been doing quite a lot of my runs on there. I've also used a sort of a gravel track that is only 400 meters to do some tempo runs, etc. So yes, I have been doing that, and I do think it's important and very helpful to do that. It just puts you into that mindset. Like, you might see this same spot 20 times, but it doesn't have to affect your pace. It's road is road, and that's how I am approaching this race. It doesn't matter if they don't take me through the most scenic parts of London. If I don't see the Tower of London, or I don't see, that it doesn't matter for me. That's not my goal. It's not to do sightseeing, and that is sort of what I am putting my mind to, and that is what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on the road ahead of me and maintaining the pace that I am planning to do.
Okay. Let's have a look at the field. I mean, you ran New York, you ran 2:27, which coincidentally you asked me this question, and yes, it is the case. You are the fastest woman in a woman-only marathon race in South Africa. A chance to better on that, obviously, on that 2:27, but there's a nice depth of field. Yes, we've got sub 2:20 runners, we've got the world champion, we've got the world record holder, but there are 7 athletes in your bracket, 2:26 to 2:28. Which should make for some really good racing.
Absolutely, yes. And that's what I also feel like. Exactly. If I look at the field, I also see that. I see some athletes who is obviously world champions, Olympic champions, world marathon record holders. And then I see a bunch of ladies who is in a similar bracket than me. I'm sure that there are some of the ladies that's in the race. I have had the chance to race in previous marathons. So I've met them before, but I think that there are quite a big group of ladies who's got a similar sort of target as I have. There are also paces on the day, which is very helpful. So there will be official paces, and even though I'm not 100% sure yet exactly what time to the second they will be going for setting the pace, I know more or less, and I think that will be very helpful. So I think it's also for me, if I think about the race, I feel like, yes, I have to have a plan and I have to have a sort of a target at certain spots, but I must also remember that the gain that I can get from running with other ladies, even if it means running a little bit faster than I plan, is probably 100 times over worth it. That's also a lesson that I learned last year in New York. We started the race a lot faster than I anticipated. And I didn't want to stick with them going off my plan too much. And it ended up me running either solo or with one or two other women, instead of running 1 minute faster, but with a big pack of ladies working together. So I'll be hoping to find a pack to run with, or at least more than one other person to run with, which I do think is very, very likely looking at the field.
So no Two Oceans, no Comrades in the legs, or no Olympic Marathon in the legs. 15:44 5K, big race, London, 2:27 in New York. You've got to have a target in mind. Are you willing to share that with us, or is that a secret?
No, I have many targets. I have a plan A and a plan B, and a plan C. So, of course, my first aim is to improve my marathon PB, and I do feel like I am in the right shape to do that. Looking at my training and how it's been going, everything is better. Everything has been more sort of on target, and yeah, my times are faster on my splits on track sessions, on tempo runs. So if I take only my training in consideration, I should be well under what I ran last year this time. But yes, we all know everything has to go right on the day. So I do have a plan of breaking my personal best of 2:27, but I also do have another plan, which is for me will be an amazing achievement if I can be able to get the marathon record, the South African marathon record. But also I do have faster times in mind than that. I think that I can run 2:25, or even if I have a really good day, maybe 2:24. And I will say it because that is my aim, and I have to dream big. I have to put it all out there on the day, and that's what I'm going to do. So if it goes wrong, it goes wrong, but if I never try, I never know. And I think that I am sort of naturally, I'm someone who likes to rather play it a little bit more safe. So I think that's also why I've always managed to finish strong in most of my races. And this year I think is so different, and I must just put everything out on the table and see what I can get, because that's how you reach your dreams in the end of the day. So that's definitely how I'm approaching London this year.